The courtroom froze, cameras clicked, and Clarence Thomas, the man who rarely speaks, sat in stunned silence. No one could believe what had just happened. Tom Cruise, Hollywood's fearless action hero, had spoken words that cut sharper than any cross-examination. Gasps filled the chamber, the judge's gavel shook, and the world leaned closer. But this was only the beginning. For decades, Clarence Thomas embodied the untouchable power of silence, a justice cloaked in secrecy and shielded from accountability. Yet here he was, confronted by a challenger no one expected, an outsider unafraid of consequence. This wasn't just celebrity versus authority. It was truth against corruption, courage against silence. And when Cruise raised his voice again, the entire courtroom leaned forward, knowing history might be made. For years, Clarence Thomas ruled from the shadows, his silence masking decades of rulings that tilted toward the powerful and the privileged. Accusations of bias never pierced his armor, and critics claimed his invulnerability was his greatest weapon. But irony struck this man. A few words was suddenly silenced. Yet, while Thomas sat cloaked in power, a very different story was unfolding in the life of his challenger. Tom Cruise was more than Hollywood's eternal leading man. He was a symbol of relentless discipline, fearless stunts, and bold defiance of authority. His career thrived on impossible missions, his charm undeniable, his resolve unshakable. Now, that charisma clashed with judicial arrogance, and when their paths collided in that courtroom, the stage was set for the most unlikely showdown America had ever seen. Thomas leaned back in his chair, dismissive, his supporters smirking with quiet confidence. But Cruise stood unwavering, his voice steady, each word exposing cracks in the polished facade of power. Cameras zoomed in, capturing every flicker of tension, while journalists scrambled for quotes. The tide was shifting, and then in one sentence, delivered with surgical calm, Cruise landed the blow that would leave the entire chamber stunned. Cruise's words cut like steel, turning Thomas's own record into a weapon against him. Each point landed with devastating precision, exposing contradictions too glaring to ignore. The courtroom erupted, gasps, murmurs, disbelief rippling through the crowd. For the first time, Thomas lowered his eyes, swallowed by silence. But the shockwaves weren't confined to that chamber. What erupted online within minutes turned this moment into a cultural earthquake. Within minutes, Twitter exploded. #Cruise vs. Thomas surged to the top worldwide. Memes spread like wildfire. Late-night hosts replayed the clip, and commentators asked, "Did we just witness the impossible?" Celebrities added fuel, politicians seized the soundbite, and TikTok edits amassed millions of views. And yet, as the frenzy grew, one message rose above the noise, the moral lesson buried in the clash. Cruise made it clear this was never a battle of celebrity versus judge. It was truth confronting silence, courage standing against arrogance. His words reminded everyone that dignity does not belong to elites. It belongs to all who dare to claim it. Justice, he declared, is the people's inheritance. And if this moment taught us anything, it's that silence can be broken. Clarence Thomas was silenced, and Tom Cruise stood victorious, a moment etched into history. When arrogance crumbles before truth, history is made. Don't just watch, be part of the movement. Share this story, subscribe for more, and join the conversation, because the next takedown may be closer than we think.